Mama Aida Odinga venye alikuwa vetting kwa bunge, aliulizwa ako wapi pesa ngapi, akasema yeye ako wapi 500 million. Na imagine alizaliwanga in 1950, sasa anaweza kuwa na miaka 75, na kuna tu msichana huko nje amesoma kwa na madigiri zake. Huyo msichana hana chochote, labda hiyo pesa yenye amesomeni imekuwa tu kuombaomba, lakini yeye hazipewa kazi. Ni hao tu viongozi wanajuana wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Yenyewe watu wangu wa Kenya
500 million,
tujiombee Mungu atusaidie hata sisi. Imagine na miaka 75 years mtu anaandikwa kazi. Mama Aida Odinga hapa angekataa hii kazi, hata kama msichana mdogo apatie kazi hii hapana. Hii kunifurahisha hii. Hata kama huwa na wa defend, but hii kwa hii naye hapana. Hii angeacha tu msichana mdogo mwenye anataka kuanza maisha na amesoma kwa na madegree nini apate hii kazi. Sio kama mnanipata hapa.
The very uncomfortable question I don't like asking, but I have to ask you. What is your net worth?
My net worth, Mr. Chairman. This is a very interesting question, because there are things that belongs to me, Aida, and then there are things that belongs to the family, the Odinga family, for whom I also have interest. But my net worth is about 500 million.
Thank you. Finally, I'll give you another round to give your closing remarks.
Mumeona hiyo vetting ya Aida Odinga for parliament for the ambassador/permanent representative of the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. That was one of the most interesting vetting nishaiona. As in, everybody was just chill. Nobody alikuwa na maneno mingi. And at some point back, I was like, did we need this vetting, by the way? Did we genuinely need this vetting? Because mi sikuwa na point ya vetting, by the way. Because they were very gentle with her. As in, it was just very casual, very nice. Actually, I enjoyed watching that particular vetting. Now, it's interesting how she mentioned that she's worth $500 million. And I'm like, really, Aida? Really? I don't think you're worth $500 million. Even all of us know you're not worth $500 million. We know you're worth much more. And also the fact that Alisa Howe, that she's a Kenyan citizen, that was actually very funny. That was very, very funny. Na pia CV yake imeprintiwa iko na picha yake, nikaa kitabu. I was like, okay, this is interesting. But we wish her the very best, to be honest.
Is it a yes or no? Have you complied with the Kenya Revenue Authority for tax obligations?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Compliance with the DCI, Director of Criminal Investigation, for police clearance?
Yes.
Clearance with the Higher Education Laws Board, University of Nairobi, where you were?
I have.
Register of political parties, compliance with the register of political parties, and clearance from EACC?
I have that too.
Have you ever been charged in a court of law or convicted? If yes, please provide further details. Have you ever been adversely mentioned in an investigatory or parliamentary report?
Not at all.
Do you hold dual citizenship, Mama Aida? Do you hold dual citizenship?
Yes, I do.
Are you a Kenyan, or do you have another nationality?
Citizen.
Okay.
I don't have dual citizenship.
Okay. The very uncomfortable question I don't like asking, but I have to ask you. What is your net worth?
I thank His Excellency, the President, William Samoei Ruto, for the trust he has placed in me by nominating me to serve our nation in this important global diplomatic role. I'm also thankful to supporters and messages of goodwill, plus all the advice I've received from my friends, colleagues, and Kenyans since my nomination. I want to thank my family, particularly my children, one of whom is here today. Rosemary is here with me.
Ruto ui! Gachiesa ui! mage jok monego nyithindwa. Kaka wang'eyo mage jok monego nyithindwa. If the government cannot protect us, if the police cannot protect us, we have to protect ourselves, isn't it? We'll have to protect ourselves, isn't it? And how do we protect ourselves? Tell them to wait and see. Wait and see. Wait and see. Wait and see. Gibro neno ge wangi. We can't have a lawless country where the government is in charge of killing, where the police are in charge of killing, and nothing happens. Surely, we are also human beings. We are human beings. We are real mothers, we are real fathers, we are real brothers. These are our children. If destroy our future, and our future are in these children. If you want to destroy our future will destroy you. Be careful. Don't say that they're helpless, they don't have weapons, they only have stones. Those stones can turn into bullets. Those stones can turn into something else. The government is meant to protect us. The police is meant to protect us, not to destroy us, not to maim us, not to kill us. You put a lot of fear in our people.
Though she was known as a leader, an advocate, or a wife of a political icon, she was Ida Betty Anyango Oyo, born on 24th August 1950. Chalk in hand, vision in heart, she focused on building young minds and unknowingly preparing for a much greater calling. She is her parents' fourth child. Her father, Nehemiah Oyo from Gem, was a civil servant and medical assistant at Nyanza Hospital, while her mother, Rosa, was a lawyer from Huisero who was the first fully qualified African nurse.
Na siwezi kuja hapa kwa mababuru zangu niwadanganye kwamba Raila ni mzuri kama si mzuri.
Ida's story is one of strength wrapped in grace. From the classrooms where she chalked up ideas to the national stage where she stood beside one of Kenya's most influential leaders, Ida has lived a life defined by purpose, resilience and conviction. Ida earned a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Nairobi in 1973. While at the university, she met her future husband, Raila Odinga, who was then an employee of the university's Department of Engineering at the time. As her husband lay in eternal silence, and before a mourning nation, she was stoic as she eulogized the man many knew as an icon.
I first met Raila way back in the early 70s, and we got married in 1973. For that reason, I've lived with this man for 52 years.
In the book, Raila Odinga, The Flame of Freedom, Raila narrated how he met Ida. Raila says, while at the university, we often used to go over to the box, as women students' accommodation was called, and socialize there, and I had a few girlfriends. It was about this time in 1972 I first met the woman who would become my wife, Ida Betty Onyango Oyo. Ida was a second-year student studying geography, and my cousin Okach Ondiek was married to her cousin Anna. Raila would be formally introduced to Ida when he went with his cousin Okach to visit Ida's brother Oyo in Isli. As they chatted, Raila became more interested in her. He decided to meet her for a drink and dinner in the evening. They exchanged addresses. They kept in touch when Ida went to Kisumu. He visited her there before Ida moved back to Nairobi, and they became a couple. Raila would later propose, and Ida accepted. Wedding preparations began. In the book, Raila says, My brother Oburu and my cousin Eliakim Owor went to Ida's home to negotiate and pay the dowry, including some cows. I had to put up a house at our rural home prior to the wedding. I slept there for one night before the wedding, which took place at St. Francis Church in Kisumu. In 1973, their firstborn Fidel was born. Ida was still a student and Raila a teacher, while still continuing to build his company, East African Spectre. In 1982, Raila was detained without trial. Her children were young and she sometimes feared for her safety. Ida Odinga would later be fired from her teaching post and from her home on the school campus. They say no parent should bury a child. It should always be the other way around. But Ida and her family were struck by death when they least expected it. Their firstborn son, Fidel, died on 4th January 2015. Ida explains how that morning, as per routine, she woke up at 4 a.m. to pray. However, things were different. She found herself focusing on Fidel during the prayers. After, she started reading the newspaper. When it dawned, Rosemary, their daughter, called her. She was at home in Bondo. They drove to Fidel's house and found an ambulance outside. Upstairs, the paramedics tried to resuscitate him, but it was too late. To promote opportunities for women in the political arena, Ida founded the League of the Kenya Women Voters in 1991, championing other causes, focusing on women, children, and health in Kenya, while at the same time mentoring school girls. During an interview with CNN in 2012, Ida said, "It is good to be a wife, but it's good to be an educated wife. Being a wife is just not a position of subordination. It's a position of strength." 5 times, Ida was close to being the country's first lady as her husband Raila vied for presidency, each time believing and hoping that the moment would dawn. 5 times, the family went through the grief of losing an election. But just like an eagle, they rose again and tried again until his last election in 2022. When Raila was detained, Ida felt like a political widow. More than 4 decades later, death knocked on 15th October 2025. Young Ida did not know that the young man pursuing her would become one of Kenya's most prominent figures. His position would bring them laughter, pain, respect, and peace. Young Ida did not know that on 16th October 2025, the body of the young man who pursued her, married and became the father of her children, would be received at the airport and given a statesman escort like the enigma he was. Young Ida did not know that on 16th October 2025, her last-born Winnie Odinga would bring her the iconic fedora hat that always completed her husband's look. As the world salutes the man that Raila was, she will be missing her husband. As Raila Odinga feels how dignified he is now in the celestial world, the reality of the pain of death can never be qualified in words. However, death ends a life, not a relationship. They say behind every successful man there's a woman, but nobody has ever asked about the emotional, psychological, and physical turmoil this woman goes through for this successful man to shine. Agutu Rosa, KTN.